Where do you start with procurement? Do we start building air defence? Is it missiles? Should we be focusing on munitions first?
It's slightly more basic than that. There's two elements to it. One is the stocks of ammunition that the Minister of Defence will hold. And the big ammunition that they're talking about are not bullets. It's artillery shells, it's missiles, and that sort of level, and bombs for aircraft. And those stocks have to be bought, held somewhere, sustained, maintained, and then replaced because they've got a shelf life. And then there's the defence industrial base that's behind that needs to be able to step up and manufacture more of this stuff whenever you need it. And what Ukraine has done is it's shown that we don't have enough in store and stocked for what Ukraine is using in a high-intensity conflict, and we don't have a strong enough defence industrial base to step up and manufacture the volumes that we need in the time that would be needed to try and replace those stocks if we're using them. That is being fixed at the moment.
So with the potential threat of Russia, how long would it take for us to turn this around? Do we have even enough time to turn this around?
Well, we started turning it around about 2 years ago once Russia did this reinvasion of Ukraine, and we suddenly realized the expenditure of ammunition and artillery ammunition and missiles that the Ukrainians are having to use to push the Russians back. And it's not just the Russian threat. We're looking at the Iranian threat, we're looking at the Chinese threat, we're looking at the potential for high-intensity conventional conflict in any operational theatre. And that has shocked a number of people. To rebuild our defence industrial base is a 5 to 10 year programme. So we are 2 years into that now, but we've had this kick up the backside to start it. And it's going to start producing additional capability at the end of this year, early next year. And it's not just in the UK, this is across the whole of Europe and the whole of NATO contributing countries as well. And I suspect it's across the rest of the world. Those countries that are not as defense focused as Russia, China, Iran, and all the rest of it is. And then that will mean that our defense budget's going to have to expand because we're going to have to hold more stock, and we're going to have to replace that stock more frequently. So you need more money to be able to do that. That's no bad thing for our economy.
Well, we've given billions of pounds to Ukraine, as have the Americans. Where has that money gone? What's that been spent on? If we're not even buying bullets, well, where's it going?
Well, this is where the money comes in two things. It's equipment we have already bought that we're donating to them, and we add the value of that up and give to them. Now, that equipment has been manufactured principally in the UK. UK suppliers have still provide the spare parts for it and all the rest of it. So as it's supplied to Ukraine, we've bought it. It's our jobs that has contributed to the taxes in the UK that have built it. It's gone off, and it's our manufacturing capability that's going to sustain it with the spare parts and with everything else. It's the same when it comes to ammunition. We say we're going to give the Ukrainians, $1 billion or £1 billion worth of ammunition. That ammunition, we don't give them the cash, and that ammunition is somehow bought by the Ukrainians from somewhere. We turn around, we give them $1 billion worth of ammunition. That ammunition is manufactured primarily in UK-based companies. So we've got BAE Systems manufacturing the 155 millimeter artillery shells. We've got RG Radley and Green manufacturing as part of BAE Systems, manufacturing the ammunition that they're going to be using. We've got Thales in Belfast manufacturing some of the anti-tank missiles that they've got. So what that's doing is it's increasing the manufacturing capability in this country. That means we need more jobs. That means we need more supply industries supplying into UK manufacturers. That means there's more people paying taxes. And that means we've got more opportunities for the UK economy to grow because we're spending that money at home, but we're helping try and save having to have a much greater expenditure should the Russians decide that Ukraine isn't enough for them and they want to go elsewhere.
So, Philip, you talk about us needing to produce more, but in Northern Ireland, there's a weapons production plant, Thales UK. It's doubled and is set to double again following Russia's war in Ukraine. They're making missiles. I mean, they're doing all kinds of military equipment. Why are we not just taking the stuff from them?
Well, we are taking the stuff from them, but they've got a capacity, and the capacity has been based on how much we've been buying so far. So there's no point in them having the ability to produce 100,000 missiles a year if the British military only requires 20,000 missiles a year. And therefore their capacity and the number of people they employ, the production lines they've got, the supply chains they've set up are for those 20,000 missiles. What Ukraine has shown is we need 100,000 or more. So that capacity is being increased, but it takes time to build the manufacturing facilities to increase that capacity. It takes time to recruit the manpower and the workforce that's needed and get them trained up to the standards to be able to produce this high-tech equipment that's in there. And that's why it takes years to be able to build the capacity up to do this sort of stuff. And that's why, from a defense perspective, what Vladimir Putin has done is he's almost done us a favor, because he's given us a bit of a warning and a bit of a kick up the backside to get all of this sorted before we have to get involved in a major conflict, if we have to do. But this is all stuff that has to be done before the conflict starts, and it takes a long time to get sorted out, and we're starting to get that sorted.
Well, last year, Ben Wallace, when he was Defence Secretary, said that the military would reallocate £2.5 billion to boost its ammunition stockpiles. So what happened to that plan? Why was that not done?
Well, he started to reallocate that, but that's last year. Part of that reallocation is building up this additional defence manufacturing capability. I worked, before I got into the media business, I worked in a company that supplied components to defence. It takes a long time to build this manufacturing capability up, and that £2.5 billion doesn't go very far whenever you're having to look at building new manufacturing sites, employing thousands more people to come in, been able to bring in the raw materials, the steel that's needed to make the shells, the electronics that's needed to go into the fusing systems that are in there, or the guidance systems for high-tech missiles and all the rest of it, the training that's needed to get the engineers that you have to do. So it's bringing together academia, manufacturing, and all the rest of it, and integrating that into the wider defense game. We'd forgotten that after the Cold War. There used to be a very close relationship. That disappeared whenever everyone thought that was going to be peace in our time, and the stocks that the UK held were enough for, I think, two or 3 months of high intensity conflict. That was the maximum that people would be planning for, and that's what General Rob McGowan had brought out in his evidence to the Defence Select Committee. The situation has changed, and Ukraine has focused people's mind that the situation has changed, and things are changing, but it will take time to get it right.
So, Philip, very briefly, please. We don't have enough munitions, but we also don't have enough boots on the ground. So what is the point in us then trying to get more bullets and more missiles and more bombs if we haven't got the personnel to actually use them?
We have to work all of it simultaneously. Defence, I support the idea that defence gets more money, but defence needs to learn how to spend the money it's got better, and in that, recruit and retain the people that it's got at the moment. There are some appalling activities going on in defence that are causing people to leave. They need to fix all of that before we give them more money.